get what you're saying, okay? You're saying, I want another Splinter Cell. Yeah, that's what you're saying. That's my best Craig impression. But I want another Splinter Cell.
Let me off my leash, Alan.
Go on then. I'll carry on in a minute. Go on, you go for it.
Who is in charge at Ubisoft that made this decision? Who thought this was a good idea? Honestly, you look at the video, you look at all the videos out there, the amount of down votes you have versus up votes, the amount of negative feedback they're getting versus positive. You always get some negative, but these are getting massively negative returns on stuff like that. So you've got Tom Clancy. They own the entire Tom Clancy game series. They bought that off Tom Clancy years and years ago, so they have exclusive rights to do whatever they want with it, which, fair enough, you do what you want with it, whatever you think's right. And some people might say, the Tom Clancy games have just been, much the same year after year after year, and it needs a bit of reinvigoration. But how is this something that needs... How is this the right direction? Tom Clancy, would he have ever written a novel about a
6 versus 6
rock,
co-op?
punk rock arena mashup from various different factions within the Tom Clancy world? It's just utterly ridiculous. The game makes absolutely no sense. It has no context with the rest of the Tom Clancy universe apart from just grabbing characters out. They had the mobile game, the Tom Clancy's Elite, that was very much the same, that had random bad guys.
Oh yeah, what happened to that?
Oh yeah, the servers are getting shut down on that one after 1 year because it was so rubbish. Now, I totally get that Ubisoft want to make a game like Apex Legends, and they want to make a game. They've already got something.
Division.
They've already got Rainbow Six. Rainbow Six Siege is their multiplayer arena type shooter. This is an absolute travesty. People out there want a Splinter Cell game. The only thing we ever get is this tripe, paint by numbers rubbish that they just chuck in Splinter Cell characters in. They've chucked in the wolves from Ghost Recon. We're going to get all random different characters from all over the Tom Clancy universe. Again, it makes absolutely zero sense. And the name, I cannot even express how ridiculous that name is. It's like they've gone onto the website and they've put random game name generator, hit enter and pick the first one that came on the screen. XDefiant. Even the name itself has an emoji in it. We're all old men. Let's be honest. We are all old men. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I'm completely off kilter with stuff. And actually, this is what the youth want. They want this type game. Absolutely, just makes absolutely no sense to me. It's supposed to be the Tom Clancy universe with all the TV shows and stuff that are being made out there. It's serious, it's gritty, it's thrillers, it's espionage, it's military, what are they doing? Oh my God, please stop, Ubisoft. Please get someone in there who understands what Tom Clancy should be and make another Splinter Cell game.
So, anyway, just to be clear, thank you very much for your input, Craig. Before I let Phil go off on one, I just want to make a couple of things clear. It's not called Tom Clancy's XDefiant. Okay, the part of Tom Clancy's games that are in it are purely the factions, which is Echelon, Cleaners, Outcasts, and Wolves, which are factions that are in Tom Clancy franchise games. Yes, but it isn't called Tom Clancy's XDefiant. It's called XDefiant, isn't it?
No, it's called Tom Clancy's XDefiant.
It just comes up at the start of the video watching. It says Tom Clancy.
Okay, but I would like to say that that maybe there is an audience for this. I think that what I just watched from you really gave me a flashback to when Blizzard came out and announced the mobile game of Diablo. And don't get me wrong, there's an awful lot of the developer not reading the room right, and I think that applies in this situation as well, because there is a massively passionate fan base for these games, such as The Division, and such as the Splinter Cell. And a lot of people have been going on for a long time that they want Splinter Cell, and people like yourself, and me included, are very aggrieved that they're not announcing Splinter Cell. a new Splinter Cell, because every time we watch E3, every time we see another announcement, we're like, let it be Splinter Cell. We've done it. We do it continuously. And we are just upset that it isn't Splinter Cell and they're trying to do something different, which, as you say, isn't necessarily marketed at us. Me, myself, personally, I am sick and tired of Splinter Cell and, sorry, not Splinter Cell, of Division and Ghost Recon. The same formulaic claptrap get time and time again. Those 4 games are the same game in a different environment with the same loot system and the same gameplay and the same thing over and over again. And I am bored to hell of them. That is my opinion. So I am actually saying to myself, sorry Phil, just a sec, I'm actually saying that I'm actually pleased with them for trying to do something different, using the franchises that they have every right to use. And if people are upset, they have every right to be upset because they're not getting what they think they want. But that doesn't mean this is necessarily a bad game. Now, Phil, off you go.
As was I say, well, based on your comment there, you just said that you're fed up of the Division and Ghost Recon all following the same steps, basically, and they're always the same game. Well, that's because Ubisoft did a crap job with Breakpoint. They took the Division, which was a very successful. That was a new step for them. The Division, they hadn't done that sort of large open world multiplayer game and the Division with the dark zones and stuff like that. And then they realized that was successful and they made the Division 2 and they went, that's really successful. And they took Ghost Recon, which is a hardcore mill sim, and they turned that into the Division. So they just took a model that they make money from and then they broke another game that we liked and turned it into the same thing. All they've done there is they've looked at it and gone, Call of Duty does rather well, doesn't it? So does Fortnite. We need one of those. The Division isn't enough. And you know what? When we tried to do it with Ghost Recon, it didn't work. So why don't we just try it again with Tom Clancy this time? And
they released Hyperspace. That didn't work. So this is the new Hyperspace. Yeah,
Hyperspace didn't work. They did that mobile one. That didn't work. And I'll tell you what, the reason everyone's so aggrieved about Tom Clancy, specifically Splinter Cell, is not because they won't make Splinter Cell games, because they shoehorn him into every other frigging game that they make without remorse. They put him in a mobile game. They put him in Breakpoint. They put him in Division. They just put him in everything, but they won't give us a Splinter Cell game, which is what we want. Like, again, it's that not really the realm.
And that's my whole point. That's it. I mean, are we a whole community where it's like we don't get what we want and we all have a temper tantrum at what they do? That's what you're doing. You said it in your own words. You said, "Oh, they're overusing it and they're not giving us what we want, which is Splinter Cell." And that's the whole point. Yeah, we're having a go at them for this game. We haven't even. This game is in early development.
It could be brilliant.
It could be a great game. Let's not dismiss the game. Okay, I'm talking about the game here. Yes, it's not got the best title, but there have been plenty of games that have not had the best title. It's in early development. Let's not kick it to the curb before we've given them a chance to show us what it is.
Sacrilege is what it is. It's sacrilege.
It's another Ubisoft copy and paste exercise. That's my issue with it. So they broke Breakpoint by copying and pasting the Division. What they've done with this is they've looked at Call of Duty and Apex Legends and gone, we can just copy that, but we'll stick Tom Clancy in it. It's a copy and paste exercise.
I don't disagree with that, Phil, and there's 100 other developers in the world that do exactly the same thing. Every game came from somewhere. Yes, Ubisoft are very much responsible for very much looking at a generic keyhole and going, we can fit as many games in because that makes us money, because that's what they are. They're a business in the business of making games that make them money. And there's a massive audience out for those games. Are we going to dismiss... Oh, of course we are, but I'm just going to go on with this. Are we going to dismiss EA for Madden or for FIFA bring out every year? Yes, we are, but they're still going to do it and they're not going to change the FIFA game because it makes them millions and millions of pounds every year. And Ubisoft
are doing either.
They're going to keep bringing out the games that make them money, and we can whinge and throw temper tantrums all we like because they're not making the game that we want them to make.
I almost guarantee to you this is not going to be successful. Almost clearly guaranteed, because they are marketing to Tom Clancy fans. This is not a game towards a Tom Clancy fan. Yeah, that is not what it's all about. And my issue with this game is, we've not played it. We've not really seen much of it. It could come out and it could be an absolutely fantastic 6-player multi-shooter arena malarkey.
Could be.
You know, it
I
could be
probably
the
wouldn't
next
play it anyway.
best. Yeah, it could be the next best esport thing out there. That is not what my problem is. The game could be fantastic. My problem is that they have again taken the things that we love and put them into something that is completely irrelevant to the universe. And again, Tom Clancy and everything that is around Tom Clancy, what it stands for, and the universe and the world that it is, it doesn't fit with what it is. You know, they need to start bringing stuff back out that fits with where it is. You know, have they not learnt their lesson from Ghost Recon? They mixed it up in the like. Wildlands was very successful. That game was absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant
it was a hugely successful game. Ghost Recon, when they announced it initially, we were all super excited. This is like Wildlands, but they've actually added that extra level of realism, which was one of the criticisms that Wildlands had. It was a little bit too arcadey. So they made it a bit harder. So we're going, oh, fantastic, this looks brilliant. You know, you get injured, you know, you have to go and hide up and you have to bandage yourself up. And then all of a sudden, hold on a minute, what has this game got gear scoring? I'm picking up an M4 that's got 3 points more damage than the last M4 I had. There's a reason that game was an absolute travesty and just didn't work. They then invested a huge amount of money getting it back to where it should have been, and it is actually now a fairly okay game. But it's taken, 2 years to get it.
I'd be interested to see where the profit margins are on that game, because at the end of the day, Ubisoft are not going to learn any lessons if they still make money, and that's what it's always about. And this is what we were discussing the other week, wasn't it? We were talking about the fact that, you know, if they can make a game like this is a free to play online game. Right. And at the end of the day, if it isn't successful at the beginning, they can keep ploughing and keep working away at it for another 6 or 12 months. And it will make the returns, because they can keep on doing that with an online game rather than a game that is a one-off experience, which is why they focus on the type of game more. Because no matter if it gets a really rubbish reception, even on release, they've still got time to turn it around and still get the return that they so desperately want and make money off it. And that's what they're all about. At the end of the day, Ubisoft we hate them because they don't hide what they are. They're a money-making company, and they'll do whatever it takes to make money. That's what they're all about.
They're 50-50 though, because they release some absolutely fantastic, off-the-cuff, crazy new things. You know, things like, I've completely forgotten the name of the game now, the Racing Trials game that we were playing the other week. It's completely
Trials Fusion.
Turbo? No,
Trackmania,
Trackmania,
for example.
Yeah.
Brilliant, you know. And again, Trials Fusion is another one. You know, they do these interesting things. They're doing the new they're doing the Star Wars game, obviously, but they're also doing the Avatar game as well, bringing these new things out. Again, we don't really know what that's all about, but again, it's just, you know, this game here, you know, it's a free-to-play game, and it's going to be, I'm going to pretty much stake the money on it. It's going to be another flop. And like you say, looking back at the financials to games and being interested to see that, you can kind of get an indication how games perform by the way that the pricing works and how quickly it works. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, you know, £60 game when it came out, very, very quickly dropped down to about 30 quid, then very, very quickly dropped down to about 15 quid, and they went all the way to the point whereas if you own the game, another person can play the game with you for absolutely no charge. So only one of you have to own the game, and you have forever a friend pass. So if you didn't own the game, Alan, and I owned it, you could play with me at any point for free, because they're trying to get people to play the game. You know, and it's starting to get better, like I say, but it is, it was just, they missed the mark so much, and it feels like they aren't listening to their audience. That's what it feels like. I'd say vote with your wallet. This is a free-to-play game, so, you know, you can't not buy it, but I'm certainly not going to go in there and spend any money on any... I'll play the game, I'll try it, of course I will. And I might turn around and go, you know what, it's a great game.
To be honest, I'm not even sure I will, because, I mean, 6 versus 6 shooters, I'm kind of past them. I'm too over. My reactions are short, and I just don't get the enjoyment. I played Apex Legends. I think it was the last one I played, and I think after a couple of weeks of that and realising that I was never going to be really that good at it, I just stopped playing it. But so I'm unlikely to even play this game. I'm just being the devil's advocate here, chaps,
of course.
Just trying to point out another point of view.
Good to have a discussion.
I think my last big concern with that is that, you know, we say Ubisoft's a company that makes money. EA, for example, is a company that horrendously focuses on just making money. And a company like that is now realizing that actually people want single-player games. Look at the success of Fallen Order. Look at the fact they're now making a new Dead Space game that, you know, they're realizing there's a big space for these single-player narrative games that's where Tom Clancy fits in really well, particularly Splinter Cell, as we've talked about. And, you know, if EA are turning the corner on that, why are Ubisoft so far behind? You know, they're an equally big publishing company there and developer. They should be using the big companies as a barometer.
I'll say the same thing again. None of us work for a massive publisher like Ubisoft. None of us are privy to the financials of this massive company. You talk about games, you know, like Trials Fusion and what was the other one, Trackmania, which are fantastic fun games. We don't know. Maybe it's games like, you know, The Division that actually bankroll games like that. For all we know, we don't. We're not privy to that information and how it works within their company. Maybe they have the wherewithal to actually try stuff like XDefiant because they have the money to be able to for it to fail and for them to try and make it. You know, because it might be the next big thing. It might be the next big Apex Legends or the next Rainbow Six Siege that makes them an absolute bankroll. So, you know, but we don't really know that. All we know is that, you know, it's not the game that everybody wants. I mean, it is very early for this announcement, and the devs are already there. I watched the trailer when they were for the announcement. They were almost begging people to contact them via social media so that they could get their opinion. I don't think they're going to be very happy with the response, judging by what I've seen, because most of the response will be make more Splinter Cell and this is shite. But mostly that'll be most of the social media response they'll get. But there is going to be an early gameplay test on August the 5th. And if you are interested in that, I'm not, but if you are, you can register at the game's official website, and the game will be coming to the PlayStation 4, 5, Windows PC, Xbox One and Series X, and streaming with Amazon Luna and Google Stadia if you really want a edge of your seat experience.